AI, and a lot of people get scared on
what it is, artificial intelligence, and they're afraid that they're going to mess something up. That happened to me when first PCs came out. People were afraid to touch it. And technology keeps changing, and this is just something new. It's just like your cell phone. You never had a cell phone before. You never had VCR before. You learned all those things. So it's not something that is impossible to do. So people always complain. They say, I'm too old to learn new things. And you're never too old. That's what my motto is. And I have started writing books on what people that are seniors, retired. I don't want them to sit idle, vegetate, and act old. So this is what I wanted to start saying. You're never too old to try anything new. If you just vegetate, you are going to get older faster. So you should keep engaged and learn new things and do new things. So that's what we're going to talk about, inshallah. So we had the old computer we first looked at. It was a big clunky IBM PC. You remember those, the DOS operating system. A lot of us did not use the computer because they were too afraid. They thought our computer was evil. And we did a lot of mistakes. We learned a lot of things. But we'll find out that artificial intelligence is a lot easier than learning how to operate a computer or a PC. People were afraid, that it will take our jobs. Computers were the same thing. I remember back in 1981, 82, we first bought our first IBM PC. My son Ahmad here, he was 2 years old, and he used to sit in my lap and work the keyboard. And a lot of people used to say, this is evil, if you teach kids this young, they're going to do some, bad things, that maybe they're going to go to all these places they shouldn't be going to, visiting. And there's always a fear of something new happening. And so this is the same thing we're hearing over again about artificial intelligence. They think artificial intelligence is going to take over the world. There are going to be robots that will be running everything, and there will be people that will be destroying the world, following us. So there's the same thing that is happening over again. So this is what we're going to do. It's not a magic thing. Type is. We had a problem when I first introduced spreadsheets back. I used to work in Department of Commerce, and I used to do what Bashir did for a while. I used to audit credit unions. And so what I did, simple thing was, we used to have adding machines with tapes, and we got calculators. That was new. So we started doing an adding machine. We used the adding machine. We had to add all the numbers, do ratio analysis, and those numbers we had to then plug them into pages. And so what I introduced to them was, I just had a spreadsheet back then. It was called Lotus 123. And that was new, and I adopted Lotus 123, and I put everything on there, and send it to the office. All I would do is send a small diskette. Back then it was 5 1/4 inch diskette with all the data, and they can just print it out. And I took that proposal to the Commissioner of Banks back then. His name was Michael Hatch, and Michael Hatch, said, what? We have a typist pool of 13 people. If this computer is going to do that, you're going to eliminate 13 jobs, and they are union people, and I cannot do that. So forget about that idea. So I took that idea back, and I said, okay, thank you, and I left, and went to, back then it was First Bank, and the very first interview, they hired me on the spot, and that's where, I started my career. So there are things that people are afraid of. They think, and AI, artificial intelligence is also something similar. People are afraid that artificial intelligence is going to replace jobs. Yes, there will be changes. Changes will happen, but new jobs will be created. So the story is that you should always stay in touch, know what's going on, and be able to learn all the time, and keep reinventing yourself and learning yourself. So this is what we're going to do that. So we'll talk, there are 6 steps we're going to talk about today. We'll explain what AI is actually, and how do you start, how do you log in, and get started yourself. By the way, what I'm doing is I have books here that Islamic Center, I bought these books for you, and they were, this is written by me, and it has details step by step, everything that you want to learn, so you don't have to take as many notes or anything like that. But what's going to happen is we're filming this. I'm going to put this whole discussion today on YouTube, and I will send the link to ICM, and they can send the link to everyone else, and they can watch this whole thing today that I'm doing. The other thing is this book I'm selling on Amazon for $20. I bought these books and I donated to ICM. So if you want to buy this book, please pay ICM. So this money will be donated to ICM, not to me. So these are the books here. You can pick one up, and ICM will have the remaining ones. If you have any friends who want them, they can call ICM and get more books. So anyways, so I'm going to talk about how to start. Log in for ChatGPT is the common program a lot of people use. There are multiple kinds of AI programs. There's ChatGPT, Google has their own Gemini, and also Claude is another company that uses that. I use all 3, and I use it very, very much. I'm on it almost 12 to 14 hours a day right now for the past year, writing all these books and getting things together. I have also written books on K through 12 for Islamic studies and Islamic history. So those books are about 80 books, and I used a lot of artificial intelligence to do that. If I did that much production, I would have had to have a company with about 25 to 30 people, and it's just one me. And there's a new term that is called solopreneur. So instead of being an entrepreneur, I'm a solopreneur. I have teams. I have 3 auditors, and those auditors are all artificial intelligence. They audit my work, they cross-check my work, they fact-check my work. Once that is audited, then I send it, there's a mufti that I sent it to in Pakistan. The mufti again checks everything I did, and then they certify every book, Islamic studies and also Islamic history. So all that is done by AI. And all my marketing, I do ads every day now. I have my ads on LinkedIn. I have ads on 2 different companies that I have on Facebook. Every morning at 9 o'clock, it automatically posts all those ads. So all of that is done again by AI. All the editing that was done, there was proofreading, there was pictures in there. In all my books, I have pictures, and very high resolution pictures. Again, that was all done by AI. So AI does a lot of things that 5 years ago you could never have thought about it, and that's where people are afraid that it's going to take over jobs. Yes, it took a lot of jobs from I'm having a problem right now, a big pushback from the muftis and the imams here. They're saying that I have spent my lifetime learning this, and how come you're not even an imam, and how can you produce books on that subject matter? And so people are going to be afraid. I talked to an artist yesterday at ICM in Columbia Heights, and I said I was giving a lecture today on artificial intelligence, and I invited him to come, and he refused. He said, I don't believe in AI, I'm an artist. And I asked him what he was afraid of. And he said, well, some of those pictures that are produced by AI are so good, pretty soon they won't need artists. AI is going to do their own art. So that is something real. Now, there are problems with artificial intelligence. it can, sometimes not say the truth. That is called hallucination. And that was a big problem. People are saying that, and it does it with great confidence. It would say this is true. So there is, some good things and some bad things. But a lot has improved again in the last 3-4 months. A lot of these AIs have been, you can tell the AI not to hallucinate, and you can challenge it. And so you have to take a little risk there. That's why instead of hallucination, what I did is I had separate audit teams. So I have 3 AI programs. I have ChatGPT, I have Claude, and I have Gemini. And I make each other audit. So it's a way of challenging. So I tell them, this is what ChatGPT told me. Prove it wrong. And it will go and fact check everything. So there are ways you can, make sure that it's not hallucinating, it's not, telling you stories. So you can do that. So the third one is we're going to talk about AI, what AI can do for you. Now, this presentation I made specifically for seniors, how, seniors can benefit from artificial intelligence. You're going to say, okay, I'm 65, I'm 70, I'm 50, retired, like how there are some people here in this room. And, they're going to say, why would I need it? And there's some very good reasons what artificial intelligence can do for seniors, and we're going to talk about that. So, we're talking about how to stay safe. There are fakes. You'll be surprised what AI can do. It can take your head and put somebody else's body. And it would be very hard for you to tell. I have created something here that I will show you. I have a cover page on my new book, and that was all done by AI. So I can be in Paris right now and have a picture of me standing in front of Eiffel Tower without ever going there. So that is very possible. That can happen. So that's where, again, I want to make sure that you're careful to see what is true, what can be true. There's a lot of cases where that have happened, where people have their supposed nude pictures done. They can take your face and then attach anything to it, so you wouldn't know. So a lot of that is happening. A lot of fraud is happening using AI, and you get all these scam mails right now, and those emails are done all by AI. So it has created some problems also. So you have to kind of be a little judgmental, a little careful what AI can do, and how sometimes it could be problematic. Then I'm going to talk about how it changed my personal life. AI, we talked a little bit about, I just explained, how I did my books and how I'm using it every day. But there's some instances there we can use, and then I'm going to show you how you can get started.
Do you upload picture for the first time? You're saying you can put your face on somebody else's body. You have to upload the picture first, right?
Right.
So how do you do that? You're going to show us later.
I can go into Google and find it.
Oh, but you can.
You can. If you've never uploaded your picture anywhere, that's a different story. But if you ever had posted anything on Facebook, for example, your picture on Facebook, anyone that is, here's the book. I was never there. And looks like me, right? All I had to do was, put my picture there, and I said I want some mountains in the background, and I want to stand. I never had that jacket. I didn't wear that. You can create anything. You can put your face on ChatGPT and say, draw a picture with me being in Paris, standing in front of Eiffel Tower with these clothes on and with these kind of people in the background. Or I could be sitting in my office, and my office is and I just did that yesterday, and my wife hated it. But I created an office. I was sitting in an office with the background, a big window, looking at a lake with the sun just coming up and a big yacht parked in the back. You can do that, and it looks very natural. And you can, one of my trips, I had a picture of my wife and I sitting on a swing, and then I put another girl in there, sitting next to me. Or, me having dinner someplace with somebody else. So that can happen, and AI does that. So any picture that you see now, be sure you second guess it and ask that question, what it can do or cannot do. By the way, this is the next book I have coming up, inshallah, and it's talking about how to reinvent yourself. So in my case, I retired a long time ago, and I reinvented myself. I got into real estate, I sold real estate, then I started another company, and now I'm writing books. And this all happened, during my retirement, or early forced retirement, I should say. So I'm trying to tell that you're never too old to, reinvent yourself. So these are the kind of books, and we can have more seminars like this that we can talk about later. So how do you get started? That's number 6. We're going to start with that. So what is artificial intelligence? It's like a librarian. You go to a library and ask the librarian, how do I do research on something or find something? And the librarian used to have a lot of answers. So that's what ChatGPT is. That's what AI is. And you talk to it like a normal person. It could be your best friend. You can, create a friend on AI, especially when you're retired, you have a lot of time. And, if you're not with Zahir Bhai doing, chai things on every Thursday, is it, or Tuesday, you can also be talking to your AI friend. And AI, the thing that it does is it remembers what you said. The scary thing is, I've been using it for 5 years. AI knows more about me than I know about myself. So the books that I'm writing, basically, I tell AI, AI already knows what I'm thinking, the way I think. So it understands how I think, and it anticipates what I'm going to say. So if I start a conversation, and say I want to talk about, the best thing you can use is, I use it for traveling. Other than that, a lot of you know, I've been to more than 53 countries, and in the last 5 years since AI came out, every travel plan I made through AI. So I tell AI, I'm going on this trip. And I don't go in groups. My wife and I like to do our own thing. So I don't want to be restricted by when to get up in the morning, which bus to take. I get up when we feel like, we're tired, we go on a longer vacations than normal people do. And we just get up when we feel like getting up, and then just follow, the schedule that we have. If we don't want to go there, we're not going to go there. We don't have to. So AI does my planning. So I tell AI that I am taking this flight. Or first of all, I can say, I want to go here. What should I do? There. And AI kind knows now. Now AI remembers, I like to do Jumat prayer, Friday prayers. So I tell, AI knows that if a Friday comes in during my trip, I told AI that I want to be in a city that has a good masjid, that is worth going and exploring. And AI knows I like halal food, or that's the only food we eat. So it will plan my, stops based on where the halal food is, or it can say how. And I also tell AI, okay, how do I get there? So it can plan, if you're taking an Uber, if there's a train. So AI knows, the hotels that I should, stay. I collect these points, credit card points. I'm sure some of you know. And a lot of my travel is free. I have, anytime I could have over 500,000 points of hotels or airlines. So I can use those points. So AI keeps track of how many points I have. And it will then say, okay, if you're going to this city, you have so many Hilton points. And so you can stay at this hotel. Or Marriott points, or, and if I'm flying, I can use my points to fly from point A to point B based on what kind of airline points I have, and who the partners are, airline partners. So going back again, the way I plan that is I would, I know that I'm going on vacation, inshallah, on the 10th of this month. My wife and I are going on a cruise. So first of all, I told AI that I want to go on a cruise. And AI remembered which countries I've been to. So I said, I want to go to a country that I haven't been to. And AI also knows I don't care much about West Africa or some of these African countries, smaller countries that I didn't really care to go. So there are very few left now that I really want to go. But this cruise, it knew that I haven't been to Eastern Europe, and so it planned a cruise from Finland, from Helsinki in Finland. It stops at it's a 15-day cruise. No, 9-day cruise, and it stops in 8 countries, small countries, Lithuania, Latvia, and some of these countries that a lot of people don't even care or don't even know how to spell it. We try to discover new places. So in every stop, it says, okay, there are shore excursions on a cruise. So whenever it stops, you can buy shore excursions. But I'm very frugal. I don't want to buy the cruises, programs. So those shore excursions, it says, hey, don't buy it from the cruise line, they're expensive. Here are these companies that you can buy cheaper cruise experiences. And it also knows I don't care about going to churches. There's a lot of ancient churches, people like
So are you saying that AI keeps a history of your requests or your searches? Is that what you're saying?
Yes, it does. You can tell it not to remember that.
But how does it do though? You have to feed some information.
By the prior questions, So AI is your friend,
So you
okay?
create
You're
your
talking to AI. So every time you tell AI, hey, I don't like to go to churches. So AI remembers, in my cruises, in my stops, I don't care about visiting, some cathedral. I don't care much about, a lot of museums, unless they're Islamic related. So it knows I'm a Muslim, a practicing Muslim, and it knows I'd like to visit those Islamic sites, historical sites that are important to me. So it picks up those sites. So if it happens to be a Friday, it will find a masjid, and it blocks off that time for the masjid.
No, my question was, do you have to create an account first?
Yes, and that's what we'll get to. I'm sorry. Yeah, I'm just kind of telling the benefits. I'm a little ahead. So, all right. So basically, we were saying, AI is not magic, it's not human, conscious, it's not perfect. So we've explained that. I'm just talking about the roles AI can play first, and we'll get to that. So basically, we talked about planning your trips, planning. It does help you with your research. So like you have a question about hadith, some hadith or Quran. You can ask that question, and now sure you can go to a mufti or you can go to an imam. AI will not replace an imam, but the thing is, all the imams that are out in the world that have written anything, all that information AI knows. So it can give you different opinions if you want different opinions. What did Sheikh such and such say about this topic? Or you can just say, I want only authentic hadith. That's what I used in my Islamic studies books. I said I only want the 3 mainstream, like Sahih Bukhari and those kind of imams that are not as controversial as some of the fringe imams that are out there with some different kind of thought processes. So it does all that. So you can ask those kind of questions with AI. So it is it helps you write things. If you want to write something, it helps you do that.
Can you please go back to slide down and take a picture?
I'm sorry?
Next slide back.
Oh, by the way, Daksa, I have a book here that you can take with you. It has all the details, so you don't have to write down or take notes. So that's fine.
You
Okay, so like you can ask medical questions. Now it's not a doctor; it won't replace a doctor. But say you have a question, you can say I'm a 70-year-old man, and my hemoglobin A1C, it is such and such, and tell me about it. Is it good or bad? It will pick up research from like Mayo Clinic, and it will say according to Mayo. You can do the same thing in a Google search. You can do Google search, but Google will give you 50 answers, and you wouldn't know which one to pick. Now this one could be very focused on exactly what you're asking for. So you have to talk. It's like talking to AI. So you tell AI, this is what I want to do, and in plain English. You don't have to come up with fancy words. Whatever word. By the way, it's not limited to English. You can ask that in Urdu, and it will give you a response in Urdu. So that is the benefit if you don't know. So you have used WhatsApp, right? You have recorded in WhatsApp. You've sent messages in WhatsApp by hitting the microphone button. Same concept. Same concept in ChatGPT. You hit the microphone button, and you can talk in Urdu, and you can ask in Urdu, and it will answer you. Now the problem is I have found out is a lot of these AIs were done by Indian programmers. So when you try to speak in Urdu, it thinks you're speaking in Hindi, and it will give you an answer in Hindi. So you tell AI, no, I want Urdu answers. And it will also write on the screen in Urdu, but you can say, no, I want you to talk to me and tell me in voice what the answer is. And it will speak in Urdu to you. So if you are having a difficulty with spelling and English, and it's very forgiving. You can have spelling mistakes, it will understand. So that's not a problem. So medical reports, Dr. Saab, sorry to say, but I have put all my medical history on AI. I went to my chart and downloaded everything from my chart. I uploaded everything on ChatGPT. So ChatGPT knows what my blood sugar level is. It knows I'm Ozempic or whatever I'm on. That's how I lost weight, by the way. But so it knows a lot of those things. It remembers those things. And if I yes.
Yeah. So quick question is like given the fact that you have all the sensitive information uploaded, will there be any companies taking advantage of that and start sending you scams, start sending you ads? Is that
Okay? No. That is on your record only. It's not public record.
So nobody can kind of breach.
Well, if you have, any information you have on your computer, yes, it can be breached. It doesn't matter if it's in AI or not. If you had something in email, it will breach.
All this information is on the cloud, right? Not locally stored.
Yes.
Right, madam?
Yes, I just wanted to piggyback on what you said. I was recently prescribed 2 types of antibiotics that I had to take 4 times a day, and then I could not eat food for a certain number of hours before and certain number of hours afterward. And I had all my medications that I would take in the morning and also in the evening. And there was also an antacid that was prescribed. And it was so confusing. So I loaded the whole thing into AI and I said, this is my breakfast, lunch, and time period. These are my medications. Give me a schedule, and it gave me a schedule.
Not only that, it will remind you.
Is that right? I didn't do that.
No, there is a reminder. Just like on Siri, you say, Siri, set up a timer or whatever you do. It's something very similar. So you can tell, and that's what I do. I have 6 or 7 different projects running right now on my AI, and I will forget, where I was on which one. So I put a request in there. I say, on Thursday, remind me to follow up on this. On Tuesday, remind me. It can also go to your calendar, your Google Calendar. It will pick up everything, all your meetings you have, all your appointments you have, and you can tell, remind me about my upcoming doctor appointment, and it will, do that for you. So all the appointments, all the, medications you have, you can also say, I like, cucumber. It will say, yeah, but you have such and such, or I like mangoes, for example, and it will say, yeah, but your blood pressure is high. Your sugar level is high. So, it will, remember those things if you tell it. You have to tell it though.
Can you do a voice reminder that all of a sudden you get a reminder saying, oh, you got a doctor's appointment, or you have to read it?
Well, it depends. Voice, you have to have your sound open on your computer and, be by the computer when it says that. But usually what it does is, when you open up ChatGPT, it will say, you have these reminders. And, but you have to open it up to know that. So it does those things. So, we talked about, there are three kinds there are actually 4 AIs. ChatGPT is by OpenAI company. That was the first one that came out. And that still is one of the popular ones. This is more of a consumer type of artificial intelligence. Then Gemini, which is by Google. Now, every one of these different kinds of artificial intelligence are specialty based too. Like what I do is ChatGPT is my advisor. So ChatGPT is like my controller. I tell ChatGPT everything that I'm doing. And it remembers that, and I say, okay, now what do you think about a new project I want to start? So it is my top level advisor that it does only advising. It's not so good in writing. Now for writing, there is a 4th one that I use, which is Claude. Claude is very good at writing things. Gemini, Google, is very good in artwork, pictures, drawings. It does very sharp, cinematic pictures, you call it. It looks very natural. You can, just create anything you want with Gemini. Copilot is, something by Microsoft. It is the weakest of the 4, I think.
Did you try DeepSeek?
Yes, there's DeepSeek also. It's a Chinese company, and they're all so similar now. It's just what you're comfortable with. You don't have to know every one of them. Just pick any one and use it. The more you use it, the more it remembers, the better it gets. Yes, that's
Right now, these are free, no charges.
okay.
Somewhere along the line, they are going to impose some kind of a charge.
No. There is okay. There are different levels you can buy. ChatGPT, there is all of these have free versions. Okay, but they're limited by how much you can use. There is a limitation. You can only use this much of it. Once you run over the limit, next week you come back again, or tomorrow you come back again with more. For a typical person that is starting out, free is just good enough. Then there is a $20 a month subscription. That's the next level up. And that level, allows you more things to do also, and gives you more what they call, their time there is, you can use, for how many hours you can use. Then there is a one above that is $100 a month. And that is, 5 times more usage that you can get out of it. And then the top one is $200 a month. That's the one I'm on right now, and I still keep getting out of, over the limit that I can use. So that's how much I use. But that's almost, 10 to 12 hours a day that I use constantly, pretty much. And you can make it run in the background too. So I can give it a whole bunch of jobs, and I tell it to do it overnight while I'm sleeping. So, all the ads that I'm posting, they're all prepared at night when I'm sleeping. And 9 o'clock in the morning, I say post them on LinkedIn, post them on Facebook. And in Facebook too, I belong to about 7 different groups that I post. So there's a group in Lakeville, there's a group in Blaine, there's a group in Plymouth. So it posts those notices on all those other groups. And then the other ones, so it does that work while you're sleeping, but it depends on what you tell it and how you tell it to do it. So there are different levels, yes.
Another question, I noticed with Gemini, when you are asking questions, it normally gives you outdated information. Have you experienced that?
Yes, it depends when they were last updated. But nowadays you can just say, scrape the internet, go to the internet and find it, and then find the latest information. So again, it depends on what you ask and how you ask it. So you'll get better as you go along.
You seem to prefer ChatGPT.
I'm sorry?
You seem to prefer ChatGPT.
ChatGPT is the simplest one. They all are good. They all are simple, but it has been around a few months before everyone else. It is more popular. Everyone talks about ChatGPT. You can use anyone. They're all the same. And especially for a beginner level, you can go to any of these, and any of these will be good enough. But again, ChatGPT, a lot of people, it was more in the news, so more people know about ChatGPT than they know some of the other ones.
But like Gemini, you said if Google has it, if you already have a Gmail, you already have a Google account. So,
Right.
So a lot of people like using Gemini for that reason, or I think you said on Windows, it's already installed.
Right,
Use
but
that.
a lot of these programs are so competitive now that if one comes up with something new, all others, within days they will release a new version with all those updates. So they're getting very competitive. So really, it doesn't matter which one. It's just your personal preference. And again, the other thing is it depends on who you have been with the most. That has most history. So say I was with ChatGPT for a year, and now I want to pick up something new. That something new will not have all your information, that knowledge that ChatGPT did. So it's better to stick with something that you've been with the most. It understands you better. It knows your habits. It knows and then it starts anticipating what you might ask next. So it's like a spell checker. When you start typing something, the spelling, it pops up the right spelling. So, something similar, it knows these things and it will start prompting you, oh, did you mean something like this? You asked me last time. So these are the free plans we just talked about. That's how you were a little ahead. So, how do you use this, basically? So you have to, you can use a phone, to sign up. You don't have to have a computer if you don't. An iPad, you can use your iPad or any kind of notebook that you're using. So you can use that. And once you can search for chatgpt.com, and then there's a very simple process of registering. You just register your name, your email, and you get your free account. So it's and we'll go through the steps here. So yeah, we talked about travel, how I plan the travel, so that's what I was talking about. So what I'm going to ask, if I say I just want a trip to South Korea, for example, you'll get a very generic answer. But if you tell I'm a 70-year-old traveler, for example, visiting South Korea with my wife for 7 days, so the more I explain to it what you want out of it, the more accurate and close an answer you will get. So, and I tell them, I don't want too many walking things. I'm lazy. But, I don't want to climb, mountains, or I don't want to, hiking or things like that. So it remembers those things and it will, plan accordingly, what you can and cannot do. If you are wheelchair bound, then, it will also suggest where to, find the rentals for wheelchairs or motorized wheelchairs. So, it is, you'll be surprised at what kind of things you can find out. The only trick is you need to get started. So, basically, when I told them all that, this is what a reply came back. So it said, a gentle 4-day Rome-based plan with short walking distances. So day one, it says, day one, you arrive and it knows you're old or, my age. So it says, okay, first day, relax. You plane gets there at 6 o'clock at night, it's not worth going out. So it says just relax, take that day off and then start next day. So again, day two, if I was visiting Rome and if I wanted to go to the Vatican, it says skip the line, wheelchairs are available. And then, day three, it says, visit this place, day 4. And then it asks, do you want to know about any restaurants you like to go? So you can also say, I like halal food only, and I happen to be by the Colosseum. You can say, if it's an afternoon, it knows it's afternoon when you're there because it tells you that's when you go. So it says, it might be lunchtime, by the Colosseum, there's a good halal restaurant called such and such. This is the address, you can put it on your phone, on GPS, and you can visit those sites. Eat food there. If you're staying in a hotel, it also knows if the hotel serves you halal meals. If you are buying airline ticket, it would prompt you, maybe you should ask if they serve halal meal on the plane, on the flight. So yeah, we talked about translate the lab reports or something, we were talking about that. So, I get all these things, A1C is this much and this is this much. And it also says, it's within normal range or not. It points that out. But, if you want more information about that, you can always ask what this means. So, and then if the other thing that, again, some doctors might hate me for saying this, but, but before I go to the doctor, I make a list of, what I should ask the doctor to do. So if I have a pain in my back and I'm going there, it would make some suggestions. I would say, okay, it's exactly here. And I can take a picture, Like I had this, I was gardening and I had, something bite me. And I'll show you what it is. Yeah. So what it did, this has been, almost healing now. I took a picture of this and I uploaded to ChatGPT and said, this is, what I got. What do you think could have happened to me? And is it dangerous? So, it takes a close-up look to it and it says, no, it's just, because I have, I thought I had ticks. So, it said, no, if it was a tick bite, it would have bitten you in this way and progressed this way. So it cannot be a tick bite. The other thing is, someone posted a picture of bed bugs. And when you travel, sometimes you bring back something unwelcome home from the hotels you might stay at. Bed bugs, that's a common thing. And I found out bed bugs bite in a row. And so somebody put a picture of, bites going in a straight line. And right away it said, it's bed bugs.
It acts as a diagnostician. Sometimes it may be misleading.
Yes, it can make mistakes. That's why it cannot replace a doctor. It gives legal advice, but it's not a lawyer. So it makes that, plain to you that, no, this is just something you should ask the doctor when you go for the visit. So armed with this information, I can go to the doctor and say, doctor, I think it's not a tick bite, but what do you think? Or it's not this. So sometimes, the doctor might feel threatened that, this guy is questioning me, has had a second opinion. Yes, that can happen. But that's something that, also prompts you to give more information to the doctor that normally you might have not said to the doctor, or maybe you might have forgotten to ask the doctor that question. So instead of, carrying everything in your head, you can have it written down. What I also do is before I go to the doctor, I send them a notice. On my chart, I just say, this is what I think my problem is, and I want to make an appointment for that. And so, the doctor is more prepared to, answer that particular question and either rule it in or rule it out. So it's not, something that, it will replace it, but sometimes it can challenge the doctor. Yes, that can happen. But the doctor really knows more, so they can, explain it more, why they think this is not applicable or why it is applicable to them. So that is something that can happen. Same thing happens with law. It can give you some advice, legal advice, but again, it's, puts a disclaimer saying that you should consult a lawyer. But a lot of things that, I found out, I still am a landlord. So if I have an issue with the tenant, I can, say, this is my problem, what do you think I should be doing? And it can, say, okay, contact a lawyer, but ask them for these things. And, that kind of narrows down, rather than asking a big question when you go there and wasting the doctor's time or the lawyer's time. So, that's how it prepares. Same thing with Medicare. A lot of people are enrolling again for Medicare. You can have those questions, explain what is Part A, Part B of Medicare. Those kind of questions that, sometimes, you have these people set up for seniors in particular, you go and visit some kind of a consultant on Medicare, there are free advice that you can get from the county. So those kind of questions you can also ask here. Now, scams that happen, I was just mentioning to you. Phishing is something that, happens. People can, send, I get a lot of emails now. And since I'm registered in all these places, saying that, I have a past due bill from, such and such credit card or a PayPal, we charged you so much money in that, $1,000 or somebody has already stole your numbers, and it looks very official. It looks very official, They have they capture your, your monogram, they capture your letterhead, your logos, like I get a letter from Target, for example, it has a Target symbol and everything, and it says it's a bill of such and such, and, please call this number. Now, when I call that number doesn't go to Target. That number goes to somebody in India that is on a call center. And they said, yeah. We said, we are Target, and this is, because the phone call they get, they know where it's coming from and what it's about. So they can say, yes, you owe us so much money, and if you don't pay by such and such date, we are going to, send you to prison. Or, they're scaring a lot of seniors. Some people get notices saying that, you have past due on some account, and if you don't pay us right away, we're going to send somebody to your house to arrest you. So, yes.
What is the risk of these guys entering into your personal bank account or your in any of these private accounts, and they invade into that, depending on.
Say that again.
For example, if you give certain piece of information, can they invade into your private accounts, your bank account or your personal account?
Yes. So what could happen is if you get this call, for example, from when you see this email, the scam email, and you call that number, somebody's going to ask you, and say, okay, why don't you log into your bank account? And the bank, then calls you back to confirm, right? It's the second, call that you get. Usually on your phone, you get a code on your phone, OTP they call it. So they say, you might have gotten an OTP. Tell me what the OTP says. And that's where they get it. So whenever you get these kind of calls or letters, I would rather call I would say thank you or not answer it all and call my bank up myself, or call my doctor myself, or call whoever myself and say, did you send something like this? And they will say, no, we didn't send you something like this. So that's how you will take care of that. So never give your bank account number to somebody you don't know. Even if you call the bank, there are ways that they will ask you a certain way over the phone. They never ask for your password. Never give your password out to somebody, because that's where you have these problems.
And especially if they speak with you in Hindi or Urdu, it's a scam.
Yes, I get a lot of.
Do not talk to those people
In broken English.
in broken English. But no, it's mostly they know that you speak Urdu, and they will take advantage of it. So it will be scam. So don't respond.
So what do I, so for again, us like seniors like us, what I do use ChatGPT for is for grandkids. I write them stories. I'll give you an example. I'm from Hyderabad, like most of you all know, and I wanted my 15-year-old granddaughter, Sarah, to know more about Hyderabad and about our background, our heritage. So, I prepared a small book. I used again ChatGPT. I said, I'm from Hyderabad, and I want you to give me a history about Hyderabad, and give me some pictures also of Hyderabad, like the Charminar and those places in Hyderabad, what Hyderabad is famous for. And so, anyways, I had this book that was like 39 pages. That's why I started, by the way. She's my sounding board, and she is very, very honest. And she would ask you very honest, bring up honest questions, and that she helped me write all these books in a sense, because I never thought about it before this question that came up. So anyways, I did this book and I gave it to Sarah. And I said, Sarah, read this. She just flips through the pages and goes, Dada, what's in for me? Why should I read this? Shock me, okay? But that is the most common question I guess schools face now. Why should I know math, for example? Again, I did another book based on that because of her questions. Why should I know math? Why should I know science? What's it for me? Why do I have to take it to school? So that's what kind of got me started with the why. So every book that I write, the first thing I write is, why is good for you? What does it do for you? So I had, so I knowing Sarah, I know she's a leader in school. She's in all these debate places and all these leadership things. She fights for, doing namaz during Ramadan in school. She wears a hijab. So she's very active. So right away, it came to my mind and I said, Sarah, you know what? You have to know history because it teaches you leadership. So that right away, clicked in her, that's what's in for her. That's why she should know. What did those rulers do in the past that were right and that were wrong? And what can you learn from them? So that's what I base all my books on, is, why should they be reading this? What good does it do for them? Right away, then you win them. As soon as you explain to them, why they should be doing this, they right away, get the idea. Then you explain them in their terms. Like, for example, what I do is, so for Sarah, or for anyone, simple example. At work, we always used to hide water bottle going to the bathroom. You're embarrassed to show people that, you're carrying. And a lot of times I got a question. I said, why do you have, there's water fountain outside. Why do you fill the water in a bottle in the bathroom? Why don't you do it outside? I didn't know how to answer back then, so I always used to hide it, put it in my pocket, take it there, and when there's nobody in the bathroom, I'll, quickly take that and then go in the bathroom. So, I said, okay, I have to explain to the kids, the new kids don't have to be embarrassed by it. I said, take the water bottle with you to the bathroom, and if someone asks you why, you say, I'm a Muslim, and in Islam, taharat, so for taharat, cleanliness is the most important thing. So all Muslims are very clean, they're not stinky like other people, and we don't use toilet paper because we're saving a tree, saving the forest. I'm sorry? Tabligh. It's a way of tabligh also. So it's teaching others and also not feeling bad about doing it. So try to make the kids more confident is what I'm trying to do. So that's what the kind of things. And using ChatGPT, you can also write letters to your children. You can write about your history. You can write about your all life things that you can teach to your future generations. So that's what you can use AI for also doing. And you can correct it afterwards if you don't like it. I want to preserve all the writing that is on the wall around the ICM, but I want it painted. Everything painted first, and then digitally capture all that writing, so it can reproduce the same writing that was produced on it. Now it's a long process, restoration thing. I don't think we might want to get into that. But things like that, you can take a picture of something and tell it to remember that, and then you can, like, say you have, the surah, just the first 4 words, and say, what's the rest? It will do that.
So I just typed in, my granddaughter was 15 years old when she wrote books. She wrote
Right.
some books and they're published and they're available on Amazon. I just put it in right now and gave me all her books that she's published and asked me if I want to read them.
Yeah.
Right on, just now, I just did
So, yeah, you did that. So, I mean, it's so easy if you know how to use a phone, that's all you need to do. So, again, we'll, anything, like a funny story to my granddaughter. Or talk to her in her language, the hip language. You don't know, what those terms mean, but you can tell it to do that and it will do that for you.
Scary.
So we were talking about the bad side of AI. We just talked about it, what's bad about it. So, you have to be careful, about your accounts and everything. Again, talking to, examples of how. Now, what I have is, there's a book here, and, it costs $20 on Amazon. And what I did is I bought copies for ICM. And you can buy that. It has step-by-step everything, how to start up, how to get login, everything that I'm explaining 10 times more. And so all the money will go to ICM. So any donation you want to make, $20 or more, yes, you can do that, please. And those books will also be available at ICM if someone else wants to buy it from them. So I have about 50 books here, and we can get more if there's more demand for it. So don't worry about how to log in. All that information is explained in there. So yeah, you can the scams. We're talking about the scams, different kind of scams that could happen. Different examples: privacy, how to do that. So safety is the big thing, just be safe. Don't give any information that you don't think, you want to give out. So I'm talking about, how it, we talked about how I use it for travel, how I use it for business, how I use it for curriculums, all that information. So, my final word is, you're not behind, you're not obsolete. You can do it.
How much longer, Mustafa?
I'm sorry?
How much longer for your session?
I'm done. I'm done, and we can do namaz if you want to do namaz.
Yeah, namaz, and then, we have books and cookies and.
Yes, no, this is it. So, I said, tomorrow go back and, have coffee and open up ChatGPT and get going.
So, I said, if you have free, you can upload anything, right?
Upgrade it. You mean?
I mean, there is nothing to upload here.
The plus.